Dave, we're
Yes, sir.
here at the CCA workbench, and obviously
Well,
we're
we're-
talking about something tonight that's got typhus.
Yes, we are. We got a lot of wire up here. We're going to talk about alligator gar. It's a fish, that I've personally never caught, but I've really always wanted to since I was a little kid. When I was a little kid canoeing in the springs around where I lived, there was monsters back in the day, and that's unfortunately what you hear a lot of. Oh, there used to be a lot of them back in the day. Well, because for a while, people thought that the big old alligator gar was eating all the game fish and eating all the waterfowl and everything. And they didn't really have a good understanding about how, an ecosystem needs, a big predator and that sort of thing. So we really decimated a large bunch of them, with bow fishermen and everything.
Yeah.
They're pretty easy to catch, and but what's really great about them is they get really huge, and they've been around for like 100 million years. They're one of the oldest fish swimming. They have these wonderful scales on them that armor-plated scales that are like diamond shaped that the Native Americans used to even use for a bow arrow, for a broadhead.
Oh, really?
On their arrows, yes. I mean that's how impenetrable they have, like an enamel on them, like teeth. So they interlock. So it's really hard to kill them.
I've caught a few. Nothing nearly that size.
No, well, they get pretty. Texas is lucky; they got some of the best fishing for them in the world. They get up to be 6 feet, and more.
I know when I've caught
150,
them, they
280
have sliced
pounds.
my hands by grabbing them this way.
Correct.
And then they would shake, and the scales would go backwards.
They're
in
serrated.
My hand.
They have serrated. Those same scales that they use for the broadheads are serrated, and they've, like I said, they've got those great. They go both salt and fresh water.
Right.
They can be in Galveston Bay. They can be up in Trinity River. A lot of the places where our guys are fishing for bass. Galveston Bay, Laguna Madre. All those places. So I talked to a fella who fishes for him for a living. He goes to Texas megafishing.com. His name is Dawson Hefner, and he fishes mostly in that Tyler Trinity River in between Houston and Dallas.
Right.
And he said, well, it's his hometown. He says that's the best there is, probably in the state, and he catches a lot of them. He says, he had a hard time this summer because it's been a little dry.
Right.
The river's down a little bit, and these guys like to have a lot of water to spawn and stuff, and they're easier to find that way. But when they're going to go to try to catch them, they're going to use wire leader, about 3 feet. You can buy them, you can make them. That's a steel-on wire leader that I made with just a lighter and a couple twists on the steel-on leader, and that'll hold like crazy. They use a 3/0 treble hook, and they'll fish them in a deep bend in a river if it's got a nice sandbar and water between 4 to 20 feet or whatever, and they like to use a big carp for a bait.
A carp,
Yeah.
alive or dead?
No, a dead carp. Like a half a pound up to even 1.5 pounds, a big chunk of carp, and they'll fish that on the bottom and try to catch them. It's really cool. When you're fighting them, you got to let them have it. You got to let them have the bait really good, because
It looks like their mouth is just all teeth and hard as a rock.
Yeah, they have 2 rows of teeth on the upper jaw, and so you're right. There's not a whole lot of places for a hook to hold.
Right.
And they have a tendency. All gar have the same tendency. They were doing this to me the other day when I was bass fishing with my giant shiners. They'll come up, they'll grab that bait, even a live bait or a dead bait or whatever, and they'll just grab it and they'll swim off with it, chewing on it. Chew, 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 chew.
Like a freshwater sailfish.
Yeah, exactly. He's chewing on it.
Right.
And if you haul back too early, then you're not going to catch him. And
do you think it tears the hook out? And then what ends up happening, he gets the bait and we tear the hook away from the fish.
Correct. And we really don't want to hurt them too bad anyway, because hopefully we'll let them go. Although in Texas you're allowed to keep one, and they're really supposedly good to eat. There's 2 nice big tenderloins on their back. I hate to say that because I don't like people killing them, but I know guys are gonna. But that's why they're doing it, because they got a nice big white back strap on them.
Huh.
That makes them really good to eat. And how could you not want to catch, a giant fish like that?
How big do they get up to, Dave?
Oh, well, they've had them 10 feet, 300 pounds.
Wow.
Have been caught in nets, and in 279 pounds in the Rio Grande River.
Wow.
So they get really, really big, and who, you don't get a chance to catch something that huge in fresh water ever. So that's one of the reasons why I've always wanted to catch one, just because they're so, cool. They're just a really cool
I remember the
fish.
first time I went in that direction, I saw one roll in a pond. I thought it was a tarpon.
Yeah, Louisiana
I
was
was
the
like,
first. Louisiana was the first place I saw, and it was this saltwater marshy area,
Right.
which they can be, like I said, in the salt water.
Yeah.
And what you get, a lot of guys will try to use a circle hook for them. My friends up there, he started trying. He just thought it'd be a
circle
good
hook would
idea
work.
to use a circle hook because of their mouth, but you got to have a really wide gap circle hook, and because of the size of the bait you're using. You need a really, like a kale hook almost even.
Yeah.
Something that's really wide that'll get in that, just like if you're using a big bait for bass, you want to use a really wide open gap on your hook. And same thing with these gar. All gar, not only the alligator gar, but needle nose gar, and they're all fun to catch too. I don't know they're called a trash fish, but they're really
If
fun.
that's a trash fish, call me a trash man. baby.
Exactly. I'd love to pick him up.
All right.
Trash man.
Okay, Brie.
That was good.